Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Chicago. This is Ranjan Ocha here, and I'd like to tell a little bit about myself to everyone. I graduated from IIT Bombay in '98, and also did my MBA from University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And I've worked in the technology space for a lot of years, and as I meet a lot of people over the last couple of days and months, they have been intrigued by this whole crypto market, and they want to get a sense of where to invest, how much of their portfolio should they be investing in the cryptocurrencies, which is one of the leading spaces in terms of growing your wealth. And the reason I'm doing this live training is I myself got into this space last May, which was around. I would say it was a bit too late, but we need to, the time is now, as they say. They say. Uh, you should have planted a tree 20 years ago, or you should do it now. So, for me, even though the timing was a bit too late, I just got into this space. Myself a computer engineer, and I learned a lot of these things on my own. So by doing several research, looking up YouTube videos, and getting all the books on blockchain technology, on Bitcoin, and just to get a sense of how. And I started small. I started putting very small amount of money, buying the dips, and also getting a sense of which exchanges are offering the best rates. So first and foremost, before I start talking about the exchanges and why this is a good space to invest in, I would like to let you guys know that I'm not a registered investment advisor, and neither do I want to become one. I'm just sharing this knowledge of wealth that I've myself developed over the last 6 7 months, and I'm being very transparent. It's just for knowledge, and it's a platform that will enable you to get into the cryptocurrencies itself, Bitcoin, altcoin, and all the other things that would basically generate a lot of wealth for you. Okay. So first, I'd like to start with some of the lessons in terms of what are the exchanges to get into. Typically, a beginner who is trying to buy Bitcoin would, and these are digital assets. Okay, so you need to understand that these are digital assets, and just if you go to World Coin Index, right? .com. Here you'll get a list of all the digital assets that are out there. Okay, so the top one is obviously Bitcoin, and then over the last couple of months, Ripple has really taken up the second position. These are essentially all your altcoins. So there's the blockchain technology on which all these companies and ERC20 tokens are being built, which is your Ethereum. And then you have several altcoins. So if you were to look at the same WorldCoin index almost 6 months back, uh, around the time that I started getting in, Bitcoin was one, and then there was Ethereum, and then Litecoin. Okay, so and these were the three that was being offered in the Coinbase, which is typically for the beginners to get into, right? So if you go to Coinbase.com, and they even have the app. In fact, right after Black Friday, this became one of the hottest apps that was being downloaded. And a lot of people got into this. Bitcoin was trading around $6,000, $7,000 around that time, and and then it has been a steady upward move. I mean, it even crossed 17,000, dipped back to around 10,500 in late December, and then it's been growing steadily to 16,000. Right now, as we see, the Bitcoin price is 16,845, right? So there is a lot of volatility in this market. My learning experience has been to buy and hold the dips, and then you don't really need to sell it at any, and you could start as small as $50 or even $25. It's basically you can purchase 0.000001. It's till the eighth decimal place of a Bitcoin, right? So you don't really need to put all your money into it. You can really start getting yourself acquainted with the exchanges and getting yourself up to speed with some of the technologies that you would basically own. So these are kind of your digital assets, right? So it's not a financial advice, and it shouldn't be. But typically, what I've seen is in the market space, people are putting at least 20% of their portfolio owning digital currencies. So if you think of your portfolio as $100,000, which is your assets, typically 20,000 of those assets you would be owning in digital assets in these currencies, which would give you the biggest boost to your wealth or your portfolio. In terms of which currencies to buy, I'll go through that in our later tutorials and also the later videos. But you can start small with with Bitcoin. So there are several places you can buy Bitcoin here in the US and also other places in the world. But in US, Coinbase is definitely the best one, right? So it has a lot of advantages. You have your wallet. You can store your Bitcoins into wallets from where there's so think of it, you're carrying off your own personal wallet versus you're storing your digital assets or these coins in either hot storage or a cold storage, right? So and the storage itself is basically you can do it online. There are various platforms like Exodus, like Jax, or you can actually buy cold storage devices like Trezor or Ledger. You can directly buy it from there. Never try to buy it from third party. You have to get it directly from Switzerland. You can order it online. Don't do it through Amazon because it could be a bit risky. And I have both the devices. And when I started small, I used to do it on the online wallets like Exodus or Jax. But then, as I got myself acquainted with the whole platform, I started buying Trezor wallets and other wallets, right? So, I mean, that would be like a step three or step four of the exercise. Initially, let's spend some time today to learn about why you should be owning these digital assets, right? I mean, to get a sense, wealth is created by compounding your money. Okay, and I'd like to show you here. Let's start with Bitcoin, which started way back. If you take a look at this World Coin Index, it started way back in 2009. Okay, and if you look at this chart here, okay, it started way back here. It's not, this World Coin Index is not going as back as that, but initially it was sold for just 6 cents. Back in 2009, 2010. and then it gained momentum. So around 2014, it was still like 500, $400, right? So imagine if you would have gotten onto this train, the Bitcoin train, back in 2014, and you just bought and hold these assets, right? So you would have made uh, close to, I mean, 500, and now you're looking at almost 17,000, right? So $17,000 divided by 500, uh, you would have made tons and tons of money just by buying and holding these digital assets. Now, uh, one thing I'd like to tell you is it is very volatile. So if you look at the S&P 500 versus the digital assets, is almost 5 to 10 times as volatile. So it's not for the faint-hearted. This is a place where you basically buy and hold these digital coins. You don't need to keep trading. You don't need to become a day trader. There's a separate discipline that is being created. In fact, New York Stern, they just announced that they're I believe it was back in December or early November, where they are going to have a separate crypto trading studies, and also like a discipline where people will be taught how to do crypto trading. So if you just look at, and there's a lot of volume. The more the volume, the prices just scale up. So as we see here, as people started learning more and more about Bitcoin, it just went up. It's around Black Friday. Let's see, it was still around, just before Black Friday, it was around $6,000, and just it kept going up and up. But there was a big dip here, right? So it almost lost close to 40% of its value. So from almost 20,000, it had a big dip, lost a lot of its value. But again, it's going climbing, right? So the fundamentals here is to buy, and they call it HODL, HODL. It's a term that was coined by the crypto traders. I believe there's a story that there was a drunk guy, and instead of holding, he said hodl, hodling or something, and then that became a term. They use it in the crypto world. So they say buy and hodl. Okay, so essentially what you need to do is you need to buy in these dips. So whenever it goes, and it bounces back, and that's what I've learned. I got into it around June. So that was the first time I got into it. I it basically went from 1800 to 3000. Okay, and I was like, man, this is just going crazy. And even to put like small amounts, I was living in fear. I mean, I got into stock earlier this year, and I was like, this is way too volatile. Should So I started putting some small amounts. The first exchange I got into was Coinbase. So I opened an account in Coinbase. It was taking almost as long as 7 to 10 days just to open an account in Coinbase. Okay. I'm not sure how the timelines are. Some of these exchanges take a lot of time just to get it open. So, in fact, I'll share you my story with Kraken and Bittrex, great platforms. I mean, if you want to get into like digital derivative trading, so trading, which is trading altcoins like Stellar, or there's Steam. There's tons of them. You can basically do all those trades in Bittrex or Binance, which is another platform. And typically, opening accounts in these exchanges can take as long as 2 to 3 weeks or even months, because there's a lot of rush to open accounts here and get into trading cryptocurrencies. So okay, so let's I'll I'll keep this session brief. I'll basically guide you through the exchanges where you can start owning these digital assets, right? And you always need to buy it from the top exchanges. Back in 2014, there was one of the exchanges where people lost all their digital assets. So you have to be very careful in the crypto world. You got to be owning all these digital assets and then storing them. Okay, you need to store them either on an online wallet, or you need to actually store them in cold storage, where you basically use either Trezor or Ledger devices. Okay, so Coinbase is a good platform where the beginners get in. Typically, what they'll do is, uh, you can open your account here and then own the most popular cryptocurrencies, which are the top three, right? So you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, and you have Litecoin. These are the top three, and I believe they're also going to introduce Ripple in the coming months. And Bitcoin typically goes through forks. So what will happen is, in August, Bitcoin Cash was created. Think of fork as, you know, if you're into programming, you can think of them as branches. So as you go along one main branch, and then you basically fork it out to a separate branch, right? So similarly, Bitcoin Cash was created, and then there was Bitcoin Gold. So all holders, or I would say hodlers, of Bitcoin will get Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Gold. Okay, or any of the coming fours. As long as you own Bitcoin, you would be getting equal amounts of the new currencies that will be coming in the marketplace. So, for example, if I take you back to Bitcoin here, and then we look at Bitcoin Cash. So, if you look at Bitcoin Cash here, and by that time I was already owning Bitcoin. Um, Let me see here. So it should have come up. So if I directly, so here is Bitcoin Cash, right? So it's right now around $25-80. And if you look at it, right? So if you look at the all-time Bitcoin Cash, when it first came out, it was around 264 to $30, and then it went all the way up to 600, and then it crashed. And I had just gotten into this space, and I started taking some positions in Bitcoin, and then it has skyrocketed from there. So if you look at it, there's this concept of pump and dump. Okay, so if you plan to become a crypto trader, you need to understand there is a lot of money, institutional money, that is coming in. A lot of it is being driven from South Korea, and there are retail investors who basically just keep on buying, 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 and then the price just skyrockets, goes boom, right? And then once it reaches a high, it typically takes a big hit. So it loses close to 30 to 40% of the market value in a couple of days or weeks. So you need to be pretty cautious. You need to understand, is this the right time to get in? Buy dips. Buy dips. When it goes to a certain value and then dips, that's the time you start loading it up, because many of these currencies, they are still in the nascent stages, and they are still being if you start having a vision for 2020, and start thinking in terms of how many cryptocurrencies do you want to have in your portfolio, there's still a lot of time out there. So it's not like you have to start making big bets and maxing out your credit cards, and just pouring all your money into this. You should typically have at least 20% of your portfolio into digital assets, because that's a growing market. I mean, where in the world would you do 10 times your money? So let's say if you bought even at $300, right? And that's, I'm talking like August. So mid August, you start owning $300 worth of Bitcoin Cash, which I did. And then, I just hold it or hodl it. That's the term for cryptocurrencies. And if you just buy and hodl it, keep it in your wallet, and you would see that the price just keeps on appreciating. So, and this is a trend. This is not just Bitcoin Cash. It's most of the cryptocurrencies are like that, right? So you need to basically take some small positions. And for example, let's see at the third most. It used to be the fourth most altcoins, favorite altcoins of all time. And then there was a big spike in its price, right? So I learned about Ripple in sometime in May and June. That's when I got in, and in my circle and group of friends, a lot of people were talking about how Ripple is a great platform for the banking systems. And then I learned about, even in India, in Axis banks were taking big positions, and there were partnerships being formed with Amex, and then I started taking big positions in Ripple, in some of the other cryptocurrencies. And look at this price. I mean, it just skyrocketed. So from 23 cents, it went all the way up to 2.7, 2 point. So that's like 10x your money. So if you put $100,000, let's start. You have a portfolio of $100,000, and when I say don't put more than 20% of your assets into digital assets, it's not a financial advice. I'm not a personal financial advisor here, but I'm just helping you understand why owning part of your assets in the crypto space is so important. It's the right time. It's the time to get in if you have not yet, right? So let's say if you put $2,000 into Ripple, 10 times of that would be $20,000, right? So you would have, in a matter of few weeks, if you had put some amount of your portfolio into Ripple, it would have skyrocketed. And that's where money is made. Just by hodling. In the crypto world, it's called hodl, HODL. Okay, so that's how you start making money. And there are more than 900 cryptocurrencies, and it's still in the, and these are the exchanges. It's listed here. If you see it in the right, there's Binance, there's Bittrex. Those are the top three. Even Polinex, right? So those are the top three exchanges where you can buy Ripple, and you have to go and apply. They usually have a process for opening your ID. You have to go and apply. So, for example, let's take Bittrex. Let's say you want to own some Ripple. Personally, I own Ripple in Kraken exchange. This is the leading exchange. There's so let's go through the exchanges first, even before getting into Bittrex, right? So you start with Bitcoin. Here, the only issue is you can only own the top three currencies, right? This is where you start. So like beginners typically, once they learn about Bitcoin, about from their friends, this is where they get in. They say, oh, okay, I have to buy. So this is the first place they get in. But the advanced guys, they usually have an account in Gemini. So Gemini is a great place to own. They have probably the lowest fees. So let's take a step back and talk about the fee structure, because that's very important. I don't want you guys who are going to be subscribers of the platform to go and buy in Coinbase right away, right? I mean, this is popular. It has an upper limit of $5,000. It takes a while, almost 7 days, for that bank to remit that $5,000. But you can do a ACH transfer via Coinbase, or they also have GDAX, right? So if you go to www.gdax.com, that's the other place, and you can basically move your positions from Coinbase to GDAX. This is another very trusted exchange. It's one of the most popular exchanges in the world. But this is where you start. But what I'd like to bring up here is you don't need to directly go and do it in Coinbase. If you want to get into a lot of cryptocurrencies, I would highly recommend Kraken. And also Gemini. Gemini is a good place because of the fee structure. Although the big disadvantage here is you can only buy Bitcoin and Ethereum in Gemini, and they have an upper limit of $500 that you can. It's a daily limit of you can only transfer $500 every day to Gemini. So when I first opened the account, I was doing it every day. Like every day, I would, just do an ACH transfer of $500, and then I realized that these currencies are just skyrocketing. And then you have the only other way is you have to go to a branch, to whatever branch bank you bank with. So let's say Bank of America or Citibank or any of those banks, and then you have to do like a wire transfer. So the bank itself is going to charge you, like let's say a domestic wire transfer is anywhere from $25 to $30. So your local bank will charge you that money, and then that money gets deposited the very next day. They do not accept they basically accept the domestic wire transfer. So that's one way, but here the limitation is you will only be able to hold Bitcoin and Ethereum. But if you really want to get into cryptocurrencies, the next best option for you is uh, is uh, is Kraken. Okay, in Kraken you can own a lot of cryptocurrencies. They have a list of cryptocurrencies that you can own in Kraken. So that's the third one where you should go. And so if you go and hit sign up here, you will see that it will take you through a process of registration. And it could take anywhere from 5 to 7 business days to register an account in Kraken. And then you have to basically go through the process of sending your photo ID. You have to hold your photo ID, and you have to say that this is account is being opened for trading in Kraken exchange. And then they will verify all of that. They will verify your social security, your ID, all kinds of information is needed to even get an account set up with some of the largest exchanges in the crypto space. So let's take an example where you have opened account in Kraken, and once you log in, then you have to go through a process of 2FA, which is a two-factor authentication. Okay, so if you have your own smartphone, like an iPhone or on Android phone, I can share with you very quickly how you do that. Basically, there is two facts. So, if you look here, I'm not sure if it's visible, but I'm trying to show you here, right? So you have your Google Auth. Okay, if you see that, that's the Google Authenticator, right? So if you download the Google Authenticator, you would see that you basically go through a process of setting up your two-factor authentication, which is very much needed to trade any of these cryptocurrencies or altcoins. So Kraken has close to 20 coins that you can purchase. So you can start with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple. You can own Zcash, Dash. You can also own EOS. It has close to 2021, I believe, altcoins, and also uh, Bitcoin you can own in Kraken. And then the way it happens is, once you start owning Bitcoins or start putting in some money into Bitcoin, you can move the Bitcoin from Kraken to the other exchanges, right? So if you start taking small positions, and you become, like, you start taking those baby steps, and then you become comfortable owning these digital assets, transferring them to your wallets, then that's the time when you move some of your Bitcoins to Bittrex platform and doing some derivatives cryptocurrency trading, like owning Stellar, for example, or Steam, which is a very popular, it's like the Facebook of Bitcoin. And then there's Neo, which is called the Chinese Ethereum. There are a lot of cryptos that you can own in the Bittrex platform. So you basically like start. So let's take you here. Okay. So if you go to World Coin Index, and you see all these currencies here. So you start with Bitcoin, you take some small positions in Bitcoin, in Ripple, in Ethereum. See, Ethereum crossed $1,000. This is a big milestone for Ethereum. Uh, I'm not sure if you guys know, but around this time in Jan 2017, Ethereum was trading close to $7. So imagine, obviously we can't go back in time, but imagine people who took positions in Ethereum at $7 or even $10 for that matter in Jan or February of last year. They essentially made 100x their money. So at $10 a piece, if you would have even invested or owned 10 Ethereums, like if you would have put $100 into Ethereum back in the days, you would have made 100 times your money. That's a lot. It's basically a lot of people are actually using the crypto space, and using a part of their portfolio to allocate to the digital assets and taking small positions. I'm not saying bet your farm. You don't need to bet your farm. You just need to take some small bets. For example, if you had just put 20 cents, I mean, you can put, if you go to a restaurant and you can afford to pay $100 or a $50 bill. Imagine if you put $100 into Ripple back in November when it was trading for less than 20 cents or 22 cents, that $100 would have grown to $1,000. That's a lot of money to begin with. So I'm saying that, and I have experienced it myself. In the last, I just got into it last June, and I could, based on my experience, I could say that using a part of your portfolio and allocating it to and taking positions in these spaces, you can really create financial freedom for you and your family, right? So I would highly recommend opening an account in Gemini, and then also go and open an account in Kraken and in Bittrex. So first and foremost, these three exchanges are very important. Bittrex may take some time. So what I also recommend is go to another derivatives platform from China, which is called Binance. And Binance is another platform. It's very similar to Bittrex. It's one of the leading spaces for cryptocurrency exchange. So you have to send your Bitcoin to Binance. So because everything is on BTC, which is the Bitcoin, And then you can, once you set up your account, let's say in Gemini or in Kraken, or let's say even for that purpose, even in Coinbase or GDAX, right? So let's say you open an account here in GDAX or Bitcoin, start taking positions over here. Then you can, if Bittrex is taking a lot of time, you can actually go and open an account in Binance. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. They don't take a lot of time. In fact, they also introduced their own coins, which is Binance coin, which is getting a lot of momentum. So if you look at Binance Coin, I mean, only yesterday it was trading at $12. So if you look at the daily, it's the 11th most known cryptocurrency. It went from $12 to $21 within a night. So if you look at the highs and the lows, so like I was explaining, it's a very volatile space. It's for the fearless. It's for not for the faint-hearted. You have to take positions and you have to go with the ride. You buy the dips, you hodl onto it, HODL, hodl. It's not holding anymore in the crypto world, and you basically hold it for a long time, irrespective of the pump and dump, and many of these cryptocurrencies will fade just like the internet times. They'll lose their existence. Their use cases may be wrong. They may not uh, be there in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, because they are not addressing the right market segment, or they are not solving a particular business problem. Irrespective of that fact, what as uh, as investors, or as long time hodlers, so to speak, what we as investors need to do is we need to take some positions. And the market right now, it's still in the very early stages. Imagine if you had just put in some amount of your personal savings, $100, $200, $300 in the top 10 or 15 currencies, just $100 in each of these currencies. You could have built some financial freedom, and just imagine what a typical bank interest would gain versus the kind of compounding of wealth that can be done in this space. And a lot of investors, they are in the last several months, after CBOE and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, CME group also announced futures trading for Bitcoin. And then there's another company called Ledger X, based out of New York. They do options trading for Bitcoin. So this space is like growing at a tremendous pace. And I'm not a financial advisor. Just wanted to let you know, this is more for knowledge sharing, and more of a technology platform. I'm a techie myself. Been in the industry for a long time. I figured this out on my own through readings, and I wanted to share this immense knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared in this space, with people like you who are my subscribers. And this first video I just wanted to dedicate to getting your accounts opened, and then set up those accounts so that you can start taking some small positions in each of these space, right? The other aspect I would wanted to bring before I end this video is to take you through ICOs. And as part of the subscription, there will be also training on how to take positions in ICOs. ICOs are typically the best place to create or generate immense amount of wealth for you and your family. I think if you look at all the things, you know, like Bitcoin and altcoins and then the ICO space, ICO is probably the top area where a lot. ICO is essentially your initial coin offering, and these are, you know, unlike the investing world where traditionally you would go to a venture capitalist and you would raise a lot of amount of money through a VC firm. In the ICO space, what you do is you get coins instead of in the IPO space you used to get stocks. So let's say if you are an accredited investor, you have more than $200,000 of yearly income, and or you have more than $1 million of your portfolio, then you are an accredited investor, and those kind of investors can actually go and invest in companies like Facebook or Uber, where it is not yet gone to the public market like a stock exchange, and in return you will get pre-IPO stocks. So instead of that, in the crypto space, what is happening is you get coins in return of giving your Bitcoin or Ethereum, or even some of the ICOs are now accepting other altcoins. So you basically send them your coins, and instead of that, you will get send them Ethereum or Litecoin or Bitcoin, and instead of that, you will get their coin. So you may get like one of the most successful ICOs was Stratus, or even so you get tokens essentially, or coins of that company, right? So Ethereum, its ICO price was let's say, I mean, there's a ICO website where it says, what are the top ICOs, and if you look at them, in 2014 when Ethereum came, their ICO price was around 6 cents, and from 6 cents it went all the way to 900 and even crossed $1,000 yesterday. So which is Jan 5th, 2018. So from 6 cents all the way to $1,000. Imagine if you had taken small positions in the Ethereum space or in these coins. This would add a lot of value to your personal wealth. And with that, I would like to end this first session. Welcome to my subscription, and I would like to tell you that this is a place where a lot of work is being done. It's a growing space. It's still in the early stages of its infancy. If you were to look back in time, people are comparing this to 93 of the internet age. So many people think it's a bubble and it's going to crash, and they have their own notion of, this is not the place where you want to put your money in. And as a non financial advisor, I'm not asking you to not take any positions. I'm just sharing this wealth of information. You can obviously go and find the same information by reading a lot of books, by going to a lot of seminars, by going to workshops. There are a lot of work being done in this space. You can subscribe to a lot of places. You can look at all the information in YouTube on cryptocurrencies and how to invest in them, how to invest in ICOs. But the reason I'm doing this exercise is over the last 6 months of becoming a crypto trader and also uh, understanding this space, I want to share my own learnings with each and every one of you who come to EasyFin. And I personally believe that this space can give all of us financial freedom, which every home wants. And I feel that it's my duty to help people and help people in the right way. There's in like they say in the crypto world, you could lose all your wealth in a flash. It's gone if you take the wrong move, if you don't store them in the right wallets, even if you forget your password, it's gone. So there is this place called if you go to my ether wallet, it's called my ether wallet, and from here, if you want to participate in some of the ICOs, this is where you need to open an account. So you go to an account, go to my ether wallet. You can spend hours and hours learning about this on your own, or you can help yourself and your family members by coming to this platform where I will be sharing my own learnings over the last 6 months of how I have almost 20x my return on some of my portfolio, and I can share that knowledge with you, which would be a huge leap in terms of how you could best position yourself in this growing market segment. And with that, I would like to end this session. I wanted to keep it small, but this is fairly a lot of information for you. But I would like to request each and every one of you to go and start opening an account in these four exchanges. Okay, uh, definitely Gemini. You need to open an account in Gemini. You need to open an account in Kraken and Bittrex and Binance. Okay, so go to each one of them and start opening your accounts. Thank you, and with that, I would like to sign off. Thanks, and have a nice day.